Hi there, my name is Dr. Marcus BUSSEY and I work at the University of the Sunshine Coast. I want to recognise the importance that the work of Professor Nάντιας Σερεμετάκη has had on my own thinking and also on my teaching. I refer to Nádya as a friend, even though in actual fact we've never met, but I feel that Nádya and I are very much on the same wavelength, and discovering her work about a decade ago was just an absolute thrill. I go to her work to get an affirmation of who I am and what I'm trying to do in my own area of research, and also just to find provocative sort of ideas that I really feel tickle me in some way, and also I can share with my students. So Nádya's work is, how would you describe it? It's poetic, it's extremely human. It reaches deep into the sort of the cultural wells of the human process. And as an academic, she writes both in an uplifting style, but also in a really critical and analytical way as well, which you can miss if you're just getting caught up in her beautiful prose. I'll give you an example. In one of her books, this beautiful one, The Sense is Still, she gives us a few lines from a story. And I'll tell you why this is of relevance to me. She says, "Once upon a time, my son, a good king ruled over a faraway land." Now, there's a woman narrating this. She says, "I remember to this day Grandma starting this way, her mind sailing in different times," and so it goes on. So she's using narrative there, and of course, as a cultural anthropologist and ethnographer, she's out collecting stories like that. And to me, that sense of moving across time, through temporal zones, is really, really important. And the way that Nádya picks up on that and then amplifies it through her work here in that particular essay is very, very exciting, because it's unusual. Scholars often approach things more with the intellect, and this one approaches the human process with the heart first, the narrative leading into an inquiry into, in this case, the sense of dust, the sense of saliva, very tactile, physical elements that, again, resonate with my work in aesthetics and cultural transformation and transition. And it also reminds me of the fact that when I present my own students, particularly my graduate students and postgraduate students, with Nádya's work, they often have a mystified look for a while, which I very much enjoy. And as they come alive to it and they tune into it, you can see that they are starting new intellectual and also personal journeys, because Nádya's not just talking to us as scholars, she's talking to us as human to human, which perhaps again links up to my sense that I feel a friendship with her work and her own persona. And in that sense, I want to say that also I see in Nádya's work that she's an ally to my own sort of cultural projects. And as an ally, you know, she really does expand the way that I can deal with and present ideas, particularly when I'm building a sort of a montage, to use one of her own words, a montage that will take people from where they are to where we might be. I'd like to give you another example of that, because in another wonderful piece that she wrote called The Breast of Aphrodite, where she's reflecting on her own experiences and memories as a child of eating a particular peach in rural, I'm assuming it's rural, Greece at the time. You know, she then reflects on that and brings that into this story where she talks about tastelessness. And for me as a cultural theorist and as a futurist very much interested in temporality in itself, she comes up with this idea towards the end of the essay of anasto, which I'm perhaps mispronouncing, but referring to tastelessness. And she says this: "When new forms and items of an emerging material culture step in between a society's present perceptual existence and its residual socio-cultural identity, they can be tasteless, because people may no longer have the perceptual means for seeking identity and experience in new material forms. The characterization anasto, tasteless, then deals with the cultural incapacity to codify past, present, and anticipatory experiences at the level of sensory existence." To me, that says so much of what I've experienced in my own work. Nádya provides tools like that a concept, anasto, tastelessness, to help me in my own framing, particularly in workshops where I use the senses a lot in a lot of embodied work, to help people find taste where previously there was tastelessness. In other words, find ways in which their identity can be augmented and expanded through sensory experiences. And that's a reflective capacity as well as an embodied one. So her work on material culture, her work on memory, and the malleability of memory, her work on the enculturation processes that she deals with, let's say with saliva, going back to the previous book that I referred to, where grandma would be chewing and the bread that fed to the babe, and in a sense transferring part of herself in an organic way, in a sensory and sensuous way, to the new that's going to lead into the future, so the past and the future fold together. To me, that's all very, very exciting, and I'm so grateful to the work of Professor Serametakis in providing me and all my students, and no doubt many people around the world elsewhere, with new ways of seeing the world with fresh and bright eyes. And I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to her latest book, Sensing the Everyday, which I've been told is on its way to me right now, having just been printed. So very much looking forward to that, and I really am very grateful to being asked to actually say some few words of appreciation for Professor Serametakis. Thank you very much, and goodbye from Australia.